Happy November, people, and happy World Vegan Day. I hope you're all eating your vegetables today or other plant-based food. It's good for the planet, it's good for your health, and it's good for the animals. Anyway, this video is going to be about what I've read in October. So October, I didn't expect it to be as good reading-wise as it actually was. So I read a lot more than I expected, which is really great. So here I'm going to present to you the books I've read. So the first book I read was Pekin by Cecilia Enger, which is a book, a story about the maid of Queen Maud of Norway. Queen Maud was actually English and married to the Norwegian King Håkon. And this is kind of her story. It's fiction, so it's not all true, but it's based on real people. And it was, in my opinion, very interesting. I like history, so I'm not a royalist, but I thought this was an interesting read. My next read was this book here, which is called The Ghost Bride by Yang-Chi Cho, I think her name is. Sorry if I'm butchering the name. It's a beautiful, kind of a ghost story. It's fantasy. And I really liked it because it was different from anything else I've read. It's rooted in Malay folklore, Malay religion. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was a beautiful story, in my opinion. If you say ghost story, you might think, scary, but this is not at all scary. It's not even close to scary. It's kind of airy, well written, and I really enjoyed it. It's maybe not spectacular, but I really enjoyed reading it because it was so different, and it was a totally different culture from what I'm used to. So I really enjoyed this, The Ghost Bride by Yang-Chi Cho. And then I finally got around to read Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. I have had this on my shelf for I don't know how long. It's been a long time. I don't know why I haven't read it yet, but well, as things go, there's always a lot of books that I need to read. And this has been on my shelf like forever. And then I finally got around to read it because I needed to read it before I saw the film, which I have now. Yeah, I kind of enjoyed the film. I was very puzzled because there's a lot on the end of the film that's not in the book at all. So I'm not sure if that's in the next book. It might be in the next book. I don't know. I haven't read the next book. It's on my to-be-read list for sure. So yeah, but I really enjoyed this book. It's kind of fun. And I don't know. It's like, yeah, I know it's like scary picture, or a bit like pictures that are a bit like, you know, supposed to be like a bit spooky, I guess. But I didn't find this scary at all. But then again, I guess I'm not easily scared or anything. And then I finally got around to read these two books, which are the two last books of a trilogy. I read the first book quite a while ago, as in some years ago. It's called... it has such a long name. Bli hvis du kan, reis hvis du må, or it's the opposite. Reis hvis du må, bli hvis du kan. I never remember. Anyway, I think it's Bli hvis du kan, reis hvis du må. Not sure. Anyway, it's by Helge Flatland, which is a brilliant author. She also has a newer book out, which I haven't read, but I need to read it. But these are the two last books in the trilogy, and it's Alle vil hjem, ingen vil tilbake, and Det finnes ingen helhet. Really good books. It's basically the trilogy. I have to talk about the trilogy as a whole. It's basically about 4 boys, Norwegian boys, who goes to Afghanistan to fight for NATO. And one of them comes home. The 3 others are killed. It's the car they're in. They're getting blown up by a road bomb. So they don't come back. And then it's this little place surrounded by mountains somewhere in Norway. It's not a specific place, or it's not specific people. It's pure fiction, as very as exaggerated by the author. So yeah, it's fiction, and it's like this small town-ish. You would call it bygd in Norwegian. I don't really have a really good word for that in English, because I don't really think you have these small bygd in Britain, as far as I know. Maybe in Shetland, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, it's not important. And it's about these 3 boys who gets killed, and the grief of the people, because it's such a small community. They're basically all affected by these deaths, and it's the sorrow, and it's about love. And one of the things I really like about these books is you get to see from different points of view. So you can see like one story about a couple, and you can see it from first you're like told by the voice of one person, and then there's like the story from another person's point of view, and you kind of see how different people see things, which I find very interesting, and I really like that. So these are really good books, and I really need to read her other books. She was at my library on the 20th of October. It was brilliant. She was really good. I really enjoyed that talk. She was interviewed. So yeah, that was 2 other books I read in October. And then I got to read Uprooted. This is such a beautiful edition. It's a library book. I have a lot of I borrow a lot from the library. It's easy. I work there, so this was actually ordered from another library, and I really like how it looks inside. Look like this, with a letter and the chapter. It's beautiful. Anyway, Uprooted by Naomi Novik. She won the Nebula Prize for this book, which is a science fiction and fantasy prize. And I can totally understand. It was also different from what I'm used to reading, even though I read a lot of fantasy, and because it's another culture from what I'm used to, which is brilliant. I like reading stories from different cultures. It's brilliant. So yeah, Uprooted, very good book, and also another read from October. So next book I read, as I said, October was a really good reading month for me. But this is a really small book, as you can see, really small book. It was really nice though. It's called Og hver morgen våkner jeg. It's written by Marita Hansen. And it's basically about this woman, Marita, because this is actually biographical, whatever. Sorry, my English is not perfect at all. It's actually about this Marita, and she meets this guy. She falls madly in love. They move in together. Everything is really great. They have a great relationship, and it's winter, and they go skiing, as Norwegians do. Well, lots of Norwegians, not me though. I don't really like skiing. And as a Norwegian, when I talk about skiing, it is of course cross-country skiing. It's basic. Norwegians, when they go skiing, it's cross-country. It's not downhill, then you go slalom or whatever, but it's not we don't talk about, oh, I'm going skiing, and then it's not downhill. It's cross country. Just to make that clear. Anyway, what happens on this skiing trip is that he falls and he basically dies in her arms. And this is the very beginning of the story. And it's about her grief and how she deals with the grief. And it kind of sounds very sad, but it's actually quite good. And it's not just sad, there's like a lot of hope, and how she kind of gets out of the grief and things like that. So it's a short book, but it's kind of not a very hard read, and I really enjoyed it. I liked her language, or her style, writing style. Yeah, so it's her first book, and it came out this year. So I know she's currently writing another book, so I'm really excited about that and looking forward to reading her next book. This is another book that came out this year. It's a children's book, I guess I can say. It's a novel. So yeah, it has several pages. And it's also a debut novel. It came out this year. I think I said that already. Anyway, it's called Larche At All. And it's really interesting, and I kind of think it's kind of important as well. It's a little bit about cyberbullying, but it's not only that, it's also about this insecure girl who kind of partakes in the bullying, even though it's her friend, and how she regrets and how she feels, and there's a lot of stuff. So I think it's really realistic, and I really enjoyed it. It's a really good book, and kind of important too, I think. Yeah. And the last book I read in October was this, Kongens Nei, The King's No. It's basically a non-fiction book. It's about the Second World War, and more importantly, it's set on 10th of April 1914. And if you don't know about 1940 and what happened in Norway in 1940, I will tell you. Norway was invaded by Germany, and Norway was occupied during the Second World War by the Nazis, and we were not prepared because we were a neutral country. We didn't really have a defense or an army or anything. So the Germans pretty much just swept into the country and occupied us. And it was quite easy for them because there were not much resistance, even though they tried. It's not that they didn't try, but it was... The army was basically non-existent. There was an army, but it wasn't really there, and it was out of date, and yeah, lots of stuff. And the government as well. The Norwegian government at the time, they didn't really know how to deal with it. It was like lots of panicking and stuff like that. But what was really good was the Norwegian king. I am not a royalist, as I said, but this I think it was Danish. I think it was Danish. He was our first king after getting independent. And this is another fact a lot of people are not aware of, is that up until 1905, Norway was not an independent country. We got our independence in 1905 after being under Sweden, and before that we were under Denmark. So yeah, we are quite young such ways, but of course we've been around, but we're not been independent. And this is about how they kind of the flight from the Germans, and how the king is kind of rescued, or not rescued. He's flying away, and he's a strong person. And yeah, it's an interesting read. It's history, and now it's been made into a film. I haven't seen the film yet, but I would really like to. If you like history, it might be something for you, but it's Norwegian and in Norwegian, the film as well. It might take a while before it has English subtitles, but it might get around. I don't know. Sometimes it's like all these films, I think, oh, this should be released in other countries, but then they're not. They don't come out with subtitles. So that's my books for October. It was a lot more than I expected. It's 9 books, I think. So I'm quite pleased about that. I normally don't read as much during a month, but this time I actually did a lot of flying. I'm job hunting in Oslo, and I've had a couple of interviews, so I had to fly back and forth, and I get to read. When I fly, I get to read a lot on the plane, and as well as when I wait for the plane, wait for boarding and stuff like that. Another thing is that I actually took some time off work, so I got to read more than expected. I hadn't planned on taking time off work, but I just happened, happened, sort of. Anyway. These are the books I read for October, my October wrap-up. I'm quite pleased. How was your October? Was it good, bad? Did you get a read as planned, more than planned, less than planned? Please let me know. Comment below or give me a big thumbs up if you like this video. Please subscribe. Thank you for watching. If you actually managed to get to the very end of this, that would be good. I would be impressed. Anyway, I will stop babbling. See you guys later. Bye.